Hello humans, and welcome to The Drop Kennel. My name's Kate. I'm the host of your channel here, and here we talk about everything true crime, animal edition related. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Kate, I just said it, but I've worked in animal welfare and animal sheltering for the past 5.5 years with a focus on animal behavior, mainly canines and felines. So it has been a long time coming that I've wanted to start a channel like this where we just have a place to bring to light some cruelty cases, from anything from wildlife cruelty to dogfighting to hoarding to puppy mills. I mean, the list goes on, and we're going to cover a lot of those cases. So I think the first thing I do want to read before I jump into today's case is a little nugget from Humane Society of the United States, where they talk about what is abuse and who is affected by said abuse. I'm going to read it from you to you. I'm going to read it to you from my phone because I don't have the capacity to memorize it all. So I will read you the kind of overview of what abuse looks like and is according to the Humane Society of the US. So, quote, "The shocking number of animal cruelty cases reported every day is just the tip of the iceberg. Most cases are never reported. Unlike violent crimes against people, cases of animal abuse are not compiled by state or federal agencies, making it difficult to calculate how common they are. However, we can use this information that is available to us to try and understand and prevent any sort of abuse case." So that's a really broad statement, broad stroke, as far as the coverage of what abuse kind of represents currently in the US, meaning there's not a lot. It's never really brought up or argued unless there is a case like today's that I'm going to talk about that hits that sweet spot of hitting social media and blowing up and then getting this global platform of disgust towards the crime done to the animal. Otherwise, everything is kept pretty tight, and I don't know if it's done on purpose because it's really sensitive content, or if it just doesn't have enough foundation or legs to be consistently talked about the way that we consistently talk about and absorb and consume person-to-person crime. So that's a thought. The other thing I wanted to read that does have a little bit to do with today's case is how HSUS classifies most victims of crime. So, quote, "The animals who..." I'm going to try that again. "The animals whose abuse is..." The rain in Spain falls perfectly on the plains. I'm going to try one more time. Here we go. "The animals whose abuse is most reported are dogs, cats, horses, and livestock. Undercover investigations have revealed that animal abuse abounds in the factory farm industry. But because of the weak protections afforded to livestock under state cruelty laws, only the most shocking cases are reported, and few are ever prosecuted." So today's case isn't about livestock abuse, but livestock is the driving factor for today's case, sort of. So let's get into it. Today's case takes place on February 29th, 2024 in Sublette County, Wyoming. Y'all there? You know what I'm about to talk about? Buckle up. I'm going to breeze through the case because unfortunately there aren't a ton of facts, and we only have the information that was given from the eyewitnesses. So there's not a ton of information to really dig into, but it needs to be talked about. So February 29th, 2024, a dude named Cody Roberts is out on his snowmobile, ripping it up in the wintertime, as we do in the Rocky Mountain states, and comes across a wolf. Now, I don't know if this wolf was away from the pack, if this wolf was already maybe ill, or what was happening. What we do allegedly know based off of a report and assumption from a wildlife biologist who actually works in Yellowstone Park. It was alleged that this animal was more than likely a yearling. So she could have veered off, maybe doing her own thing, who knows. Either way, Cody sees this as an opportunity to flex his legal right to take down a predator. Anyway, so he runs the wolf over with the snowmobile. It doesn't kill it. So instead of immediately killing it, the most humane thing to have done would have probably been to pew pew it in the head, and YouTube, you know? So, but he didn't. Instead, he picked the wolf up and brought it home with him. He brought it to his residence inside county lines and put a shock collar on it. And then he taped its mouth shut with some red-looking duct tape, as well as put a dog muzzle on it. He then proceeded to remove it from his residence while it was still alive, again in a pretty shut down state, as well as a probably active dying state. I think a snowmobile could cause some pretty significant internal injuries. So that's what we could gather. And instead of keeping this private, he then decided to go ahead and take it public. This was another odd choice among many that he made that day. So took it to a bar, brought the animal into the bar and was like, hey, look what I did. And I think a lot of people are familiar with Cody in that area. So in their mind, they were probably, before they saw the wolf, were probably like, oh, shenanigans abound. But then he brought the wolf in and was like, look at this, it's mine now. And people proceeded to take pictures and listen to Cody's story about running it over and getting it to the bar, where he proceeded to taunt it and torture it. And there were some eyewitnesses saying, like, it's not like he was torturing it in the bar. And I feel like maybe the definition of torture isn't as succinct as maybe we thought it was. Because having a live animal that doesn't rely on humans for survival in a bar and incapacitated is torture. Bottom line, it is. You don't have to be like poking it with a fork. That is torture. She's dying of an internal injury and she's very uncomfortable and very fearful. And when you look at her behavior, there's a picture that I am about to pop up, just FYI, that's your trigger warning. Here it comes. So if we look at this picture, we see this animal that is in a shutdown state, more than likely in a pretty insurmountable amount of pain. And that's just really sad. That's really sad. So in this case, for the wolf, it's bleh. Anywho, so finally someone called the authorities. And I think the authorities were, the police as well as Wyoming Game and Fish. They came out. He was told that he had to do away with the animal. He took it allegedly in the back of the bar outside, so like in the bar alleyway, and is what I read. So that got me thinking, what would I have done? As an animal advocate, animal welfare and animal shelter worker, and someone who geeks out big time over behavior, especially the behavior of wild animals, because they're fascinatingly intelligent and just super cool. Would I have spoken up and said, hey man, this is inappropriate? I like to think that I would. I also would be remiss to say that with absolution, because if I'm in a bar and there are a lot of drunk locals in a space where I'm assuming if the wolf, he had it on him, where that's a factor, I don't know. I don't know that I would trust my safety in the hands of an already potentially manic or unhinged human who went so far to inflict pain and injury and torture on another animal. I don't know. So I feel for the people in the bar, for the majority, who were probably just like, what do you do? What are we supposed to do? So yes, pop in the comments and let me know what you would have done. I love to think that I would have like put on my superhuman cape and just like been like, no sir, not in this establishment, and then like just made everything disappear and rescue that sweet poor little wolf and help her along with her journey so she's no longer in pain. But again, I wasn't in the situation. I wasn't there. I didn't know the climate or the energy of that environment, so it's hard to say. The other thing I do want to speak to really quickly are just a few laws or policies that are in place in the state of Wyoming around hunting, trophy hunting, and predatory creatures. So Wyoming has 85% mass of their state or of the region of Wyoming is known as a predatory state, meaning that there are no parameters around, and this is from the Game and Fish website, taking of a predatory animal. Who would have thought that the term taking needed extra clarification and needed to just blatantly say unaliving the animal? Who knew? You know? Because now it's like when people go market products. I used to be in the beauty industry and do some marketing, and you know, you would get people who would accidentally put the eye cream like inside their eyeball, even though it was an eye cream for anti-wrinkles. So then on the box, on that later run, you would have to say like, do not put this into your eyeball, put it around the eyeball. So it's that type of language that I look at and I'm like, all right, could that have been the thing that he was like, I have the right to take this animal and do what I please? I don't know. I hate to say it, but probably a little bit, maybe. I don't know, you tell me. Anyway, so they have that 85% portion of their state where you can legally unalive a predatory animal. So there's that. There's also trophy hunting season, and wolves are on that list. So from October 4th to the end or last day of February of each year, if you have a tag and a license, you can predatory animal and take it as a trophy. So there's that piece of it as well. Now, there was a census report done from Wyoming Game and Fish that within that region, that 85% region of the state, that there were 20 to 25 wolves total. With that, livestock deaths were only attributed 1% to wolves. So just 1% of livestock deaths were attributed to wolves. There's actually quite a interesting and intricate filing that you have to do in order to prove and get that livestock death proven as a predatory death. So that was interesting too. I'm not a math person, but I don't know, the desire or hubbub to just kind of willy-nilly predatory animals just in case that gets above 1% for attributed livestock deaths doesn't math up to me. But you know, again, if for those of you who have livestock and live on ranches, like come into the comment section and let's talk about it, because I'm so curious what that looks like for you. I don't have that experience to draw from, really. So learn some viewers. Let's do this. I think the only other piece of information that's important to know is that I think it was in like 2017, wolves were delisted from the Endangered Species Act. So the protections over them lifted as well. That wasn't nationwide. That was for, I believe, the Rocky Mountain region. So the other 48 remaining states do have protections on gray wolves still under the ESA. So now we have some of those facts, right, and tidbits. And then we have this crime that this gentleman, as an individual, chose to make. And we have my input on crap. I don't know what I would have done had I been there in that situation. That would have been scary. I would have been scared. But the crime doesn't match the max charge, I don't think. And now we have this opportunity to open up a conversation on how we can better inform and provide knowledge to our representatives, state, federal, and what have you, about how there needs to be some parameters to laws, like having that predatory, free-for-all or unaliving of these wild animals. It should probably be still in a humane way. I also loved that a collective of hunters came forward during this case and during the uprising of all of this to say, like, we don't claim this man, this is irresponsible hunter behavior, and we respect the animals that we do unalive for the sport, but also to feed our families, et cetera, et cetera. So I really appreciated that it didn't turn into a huge argument of, these animals are here for us to take. That was good. What I didn't love, and I'll keep the rest of this a little short, I'll just say a few of my personal insights to this, but I was left a little disheartened by the negative outpouring of human response to this. So again, I've said it, this will be the third time. Humans, we are animals too. We should advocate for each other as well. And when one of us makes a really, really messed up, I wish I could say the F word, know that that's what I'm saying in my head, F-worded mistake, you are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to be just absolutely floored, and you're certainly allowed to talk about it. And you are allowed to do what everyone did, which was just wish really violent things to happen, not only to Cody, but to his wife and his family and the entire state of Wyoming. That, to me, though, doesn't solve anything. But it does give us a chance to release that absolute anger over the situation. We as humans need that too. We need that release. We need to be able to go somewhere and just say, man, this is under my skin. This was so messed up. I'm so angry, blah, blah, blah. But maybe do that in private with trusted friends, where you can do it face to face. You can all drink some wine or juice, I don't know, and just vent. It was tough to see humans wanting equal violence done to him. I'm not saying I disagree with the fact that he needs a heavier charge, but it's hard. I'm conflicted about it. I think I feel two ways at once about it, because I'm going to show this one last picture. If we look at the body language of the wolf in this picture, I think my first thought was ooh, I wish she would. Here's the picture. It's incoming right now. So we see a lip lift. We see that tension in her face. She's showing her teeth, baring her teeth. Her ears are pinned back. You can see the sclera in her eyes, the whites of her eyes. There's so much tension in her brow. That's a pre-bite body language. And yeah, that would have been justice for the wolf. But I don't know that action would have learned Cody to never do that again. That's the part I distrust. So we can yell towards him through the internet till we're blue in the face and just unload our anger on him and wish all of these horrible things done to him. That may not change his approach to how he's going to treat animals. What will change is if there's policy put in around how you can treat a wild animal. So that's my take. That's my opinion. You guys are more than welcome to, again, I'm fine with uncomfortable conversations. So let's have one. Just be nice. Pretty please. Yeah, I think that's kind of it for this story. It's very, again, like I said, the duration of the crime was short in comparison to more of the crimes that we'll be covering as this station grows or this channel grows. So, yeah, I think the moral of the story is don't snowmobile, Just kidding. Keep going snowmobiling. It's fun. The moral of the story is, even though our species, our animal species as humans, does have a more unique cognitive ability to function, does not entitle us to flex that, like alpha mentality and let this wolf or any other creature know that we think we are superior by causing it harm. And I guess, I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to leave you with that little piece. You can sleep on it. Anyway, as I said at the beginning, be kind in the comments, be kind to each other, and I will see you next week where we cover yet another True Crime Animal Edition. Bye.